It's not a coincidence that you're here. You didn't get here by mistake. This message is for you, right now, right in the middle of whatever you're going through. Maybe you arrived tired, with a heart full of questions and a mind overwhelmed by silence. Maybe you felt alone, like your prayers are just getting lost in the air, like God doesn't answer the way He used to. But listen closely. Your faith hasn't gone unnoticed. Every tear no one saw, God collected it. Every time you chose to believe when everything told you to give up, heaven took note. That's why this video is not a coincidence. It's a divine appointment. It's God whispering to your soul that He's still here, that He hasn't let go of you, that even in the silence, He is working in your life. If this is already starting to touch your heart, I invite you to leave a comment right now with this phrase, "God is with me, even when I don't see Him." Let it be a testimony of your faith, a flag of your hope. And if you can, support this video with a like and share it, because someone else might need this word right before giving up. Now take a deep breath. Open your heart. This message isn't meant to just move your emotions. It's meant to sustain you, to remind you that the bravest kind of faith is not the kind that celebrates on the mountain, but the kind that endures in the valley. Because you never know how many lives a simple act of faith can reach. Trusting when everything is clear is easy. When things flow, when the plans work out, when doors open and life makes sense, faith feels light. But trusting when everything is silent, when answers don't come, when you pray and nothing changes, that's where true faith is tested. The kind of faith that doesn't feed on what it sees, but on what it believes. The kind of faith that doesn't need to feel to stay alive. The kind of faith that doesn't fade in the darkness, but shines brighter when the soul has no strength left. Maybe that's exactly where you are right now. Asking yourself, where is God? Why isn't He answering? Did He forget about me? And I get it. We all go through seasons where heaven seems closed, where the only thing you hear is the echo of your own doubts. But please, hold on to this truth with all your heart. God is not far. He's not silent because He forgot about you. He's silent because He's working deeply, right where you can't see. Remember Abraham? God asked him to leave his homeland, to walk into the unknown. He didn't give him a map. He didn't explain the way. He simply said, "Walk." And Abraham walked, without seeing, without understanding, without a clear sign. And that's why he was called the father of faith, because he believed without seeing. He obeyed without knowing. That teaches us something powerful. The faith God honors isn't the one that demands proof. It's the one that holds on to promises. Because proof fades. What's visible disappears. But the Word of God stands forever. There's a verse you need to keep deep in your heart. 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we walk by faith, not by sight. That means you don't walk because you see. You walk because you believe. Because you trust that even if you don't see God's hand, His heart is guiding you. And that kind of faith, it has weight in heaven. It moves mountains, even if no one around you sees it. Now let me ask you, honestly, have you conditioned your faith to what you can see? Have you thought God abandoned you just because you don't see results? Have you felt like nothing makes sense and your trust started to shake? If that's you, please hear this. You're not failing. You're growing. God's not punishing you. He's shaping you. Because if He showed you everything, you wouldn't develop patience. You wouldn't learn to depend. You wouldn't be formed in character. But when you choose to keep trusting without seeing anything, you're being transformed on the inside. You're being strengthened in ways you don't even realize yet. And all of this that you're living through today will become your testimony tomorrow. So if today you're walking through fog, if everything feels confusing, if you don't understand why God is silent or why nothing is changing, don't stop. Don't give up. You're being trained in the deepest level of faith, and God sees that, and He will honor it. There's a stage in the spiritual life many go through, but few understand. It's that stage where you pray, you cry out, you wait, and nothing happens. No answer, no sign, no miracle, just silence. And that silence hurts. It confuses. It scares. And it makes you think things that aren't true. Maybe God doesn't hear me anymore. Maybe He doesn't care about what I'm living. Maybe I did something wrong. And there, in the inner noise that God's silence creates, is where you are most vulnerable. But listen to this with all your heart. God's silence is not absence, it's design. It's a sacred way of working on what you can't see. God doesn't need to announce every step He takes. He works in the hidden, in the invisible, in the process that doesn't show on social media or to the naked eye.
Do you remember the sower? When he plants a seed, he sees nothing for weeks. The soil looks the same. Everything appears static. But underneath, in the secret place, the seed is dying to itself so it can bear fruit. It's taking root. It's forming deep down. And that's exactly how God works. While you think everything is on pause, He is arranging the eternal. Job, in the middle of his pain, said something you must remember every time heaven feels silent. But He knows the way that I take. When He has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Job didn't understand. He was broken. He had lost everything, but he trusted. He knew that behind all the chaos, there was purpose, that all that silence was part of the process. And you must declare the same in the midst of what you're facing. I don't understand what's happening, but I trust. I don't see anything, but I know God is here. I don't hear answers, but I will not stop praying. Because sometimes the greatest spiritual growth doesn't come when God speaks, but when He's silent. That's when you learn to listen with your heart, to read the invisible movements of God, to trust beyond emotion. The people of Israel wandered in the desert for 40 years, day after day, without understanding, without clear signs, thirsty, hungry, circling mountains they didn't understand. And yet, God never left them. He was shaping their character, preparing them for the promise. Because you can't enter the promised land with a slave's mindset. And that requires time, process, silence, and faith. So if today you feel like God is silent, it's not punishment, it's construction. Don't panic. Don't think you're alone. Don't interpret silence as abandonment. It's a deep work, invisible, but powerful. What you don't see, what you don't understand, what you don't hear, God does. He sees it. He's arranging it. He's using it. And the day will come, believe it, when you'll realize that the silence wasn't emptiness. It was a divine waiting room where God was forging a faith no noise in the world could destroy. There's a kind of faith that doesn't show up in moments of celebration, but in the darkest nights. A faith that doesn't shout from the mountaintop, but whispers in the valley. A faith that says, I don't understand, but I keep going. I don't see, but I keep walking. I don't feel, but I still believe. That is the kind of faith that honors God the most. Not the faith that rejoices when everything is perfect, but the one that stands firm when everything falls apart. Do you know why that faith shines so brightly in heaven? Because it doesn't depend on emotional weather. It doesn't need signs, miracles, or confirmations. It's not based on feelings. It's based on a decision. Yes, a bold decision born in exhaustion, that holds on in silence, that endures even when the soul is weary. Worship isn't always lifting hands, singing loud, or weeping with emotion. Sometimes the greatest worship is simply still believing when nothing is left, when there's no strength, when everything inside you says stop, and yet you choose to say, God, I don't understand this moment, but I still believe you are good. I don't know why there's so much silence, but I don't doubt your love. I don't see a way out, but I refuse to stop trusting you. Look at what Habakkuk says in chapter 3, verses 17 to 19. That the fig tree does not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in the God of my salvation. Do you see it? Even when there's nothing, even when everything looks barren, yet I will rejoice. That's the faith that transforms the soul. That's the faith that survives winter without losing hope for spring. Because true faith isn't based on what you have. It's based on who God is. And if He doesn't change, then neither should your faith. Maybe today you're in that very season, waiting for an answer that hasn't come, for a healing you can't see, for a promise that feels far away. And you've asked, is it still worth believing? Yes, it is. Because when someone keeps believing despite the pain, when someone lifts a prayer with a broken soul, when someone trusts without any sign, that person is shining with a light that the human eye can't see, but heaven never ignores. You don't need perfect faith. You need persistent faith. God isn't looking for people who always feel Him. He's looking for people who don't let go even when they feel nothing. Because He has not forgotten the ones who pray in secret, who cry in silence, who walk by faith even when the soul trembles. And listen closely. What you're holding on to in faith during the darkness, God will reward in the light. Maybe no one sees your tears. No one understands your struggle. No one knows how many times you've wanted to give up. But God does, and He honors those who stand firm even when they see nothing. 2 Timothy 1:12 says, I know whom I have believed. That needs to be your declaration. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to remember who your God is. He doesn't lie. He doesn't fail. He doesn't abandon. and every step you take in faith is counted in heaven. There are moments when everything inside you screams, "I can't do this anymore." When your strength is gone, your prayers feel like they hit the ceiling, and the waiting feels unbearable. And right there, in that moment when you're about to give up, is when it matters most to keep believing. Because often, the greatest miracle isn't on the other side of effort. It's on the other side of perseverance. It's not about praying perfectly. It's not about having all the answers. It's about not letting go of God's hand, about staying even when it hurts, about trusting even when you don't see, about moving forward even when you don't understand. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35 says, "So do not throw away your confidence. It will be richly rewarded." Your confidence in God has a reward, and not just any reward, an eternal one. Maybe your faith feels small today. Maybe it shows up in a sigh.
In a "Father, help me" at the end of the day. In a quiet, "Here I am, Lord," when you have no more words. But let me tell you something heaven never forgets. That kind of simple faith is a powerful key. A key that opens doors no human strength can. A key God honors in secret and reveals in public. Sometimes we think God is in a rush, that if He hasn't answered yet, it means He's not there. But hear this with your whole heart. God is never late, but He's never distracted either. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't put your prayers on pause for no reason. He's working, in His way, in His perfect time. Isaiah 55:9 says, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." That means that even if you don't understand, God does. And when that moment comes, when the doors open, when the promise is fulfilled, when you look back and see all you've survived, you'll say with tears and gratitude, "Now I understand. It all had a purpose. It was all worth it. God never left me." So if you're at the edge today, if you're standing between faith and exhaustion, don't let go. That trust is the key. That trust is writing your testimony. That trust will be rewarded. It's no accident that you heard this today. It's God reminding you, what you believe in the invisible, He will make visible in His perfect time. Now, I invite you to do something simple but powerful. Write in the comments, "I'm still trusting, even when I see nothing." Let it be your testimony of faith. If this message touched your soul, like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more content that strengthens your spirit. You never know how many lives you can reach with just one act of love. May God bless you, sustain you, and remind you every single day that even in the silence, He is with you. Amen.